So, Mt Wellington, it's behind me. You can't really see it because of all the city. But today, I want to give a kind of like a top 10 list. Josh and I are going to head out. We're going to show you our top 10 recommendations on what to do. But firstly, how do you get there? What I would recommend, if you don't have a car, is the Mt Wellington Explorer bus. There are a few different options that you can take. There are 24-hour tickets, there are 48-hour tickets, there's a 2.5-hour tour option. You also have the ability to do a jump on and off, and you can probably hear the busker behind me. He's actually sounding really good right now. But you've got all of these options. What's best for you? It's probably depending on how much time you have. So if you want to spend the whole day on the mountain, I would not recommend the 2.5-hour tour. I would recommend getting the ticket and jumping on and off and going to different parts of the mountain. But this is one of the pickup points. We're here at the Hobart waterfront. As you can see, the Mona Roma is behind me. So if that's something you want to do as well, go to Mona. And then the other pickup point is just over this way. They've got a map on their website. It shows you where to go. But we're going to drive up ourselves because we have a car. If you need a car, we've got a few links that you could actually go and follow to get 10% off, 7.5% off, get a car hooked up for a few days and drive up. So yeah, that's the bus there, bit of the info. We're going to jump in the car and we will see you guys up there for our top 10 things to do in Mt Wellington.
So we're at the iconic Cascade Brewery. I've been around since 1824 and definitely an icon within sort of Tasmania. Great line of beer, so definitely worth trying out, probably especially after your trip up the mountain as well. Offering like historical tours of the site, but also like actual tours of the brewery as well, including tasting panels. So definitely worth checking out as part of your trip up, probably back down from the mountain as well.
So on your way up to Mt Wellington, there is a spot we would recommend to stop for food outside of Cascade Brewery. Now that is one of the best things to do, but we'd also recommend Fern Tavern. I've been here myself. They've got a fireplace inside. They've been around for a long time. 1970s, I think, is maybe when they started, maybe even earlier. And it isn't on the way to Mt Wellington. You've got to actually go past the turnoff, which we'll show you here, which is where you generally turn off. But if you go a little further, you get to Fern Tavern, which is absolutely great. So I would recommend coming here probably after, grabbing a nice feed, unless you want like walking on a full stomach. But yeah, great food, great atmosphere, fireplace. So after coming down from the snow, it's great to stop in here, grab a feed, and then yeah, head back on down, maybe Cascade Brewery, grab a beer there as well. Why not double up? There's nothing wrong with that, so have fun. But yeah, this is another one of those spots we'd recommend going to when coming to Mt Wellington.
So now we're at the pipeline track, just a nice sort of family-friendly walk. That's a very gradual sort of incline. You can sort of go as far as you want to and sort of turn back around again, but sort of interconnects with a couple of other sort of smaller trails as well. So entrance just here. A little bit more information about the trail as well, but if you want to do this first and then head to the tavern and grab a beer, or do the tavern first and then go for your walk, sort of nice little family-friendly place to enjoy a bit of time together and get out in nature.
So we've just parked and we are on our way down to the springs. We've come up from Fern Tavern and the car park was completely full. So when you enter the springs, there's a road off to the left, not the one that goes up to the summit, and that is the one to follow all the way up and get that autofocus back on.
It's definitely been a noticeable temperature drop. We're about halfway up the summit at this point as well. Much cooler as we make our way up higher and higher.
Definitely. So if you're feeling fine, like in the actual CBD, which I was, you saw me earlier and I was in basically just like one layer. I've now got 2 layers and a beanie on, and it's still pretty fresh. Got a puffer jacket in the car, so I would recommend having that sort of yeah, layer of clothing, bring gloves, bring more than you think you'll need, because then you won't be not wanting
proper cool.
Yeah, you'll be able to get out of the car still rather than being stuck inside. So
cool things at the springs, sort of check out as a starting point is Lost Freight, which is a sort of small cafe up here. Really good quality coffee and sort of small bites and snacks that you can have as well. Any walks you'd recommend, Levi?
yeah, definitely. There's a few walks, and we'll highlight each of those, show you the starting points. There's a map down there as well that we can touch on.
Yeah. If you're lucky, you might get a bit of snow too. Right.
Yes.
If it's low enough. Yeah.
But usually they will block off the road at the spring, so you might only be able to ever make it to the springs. And if you want the snow, you're going to have to just walk up the road or walk up like zigzag track.
So I've got my coffee. I have very cold hands at this point, so definitely noticing the drop in temperature. But another one of the cool things to do when you're on the mountain is actually do mountain bike riding. We're standing here at the beginning of the north-south track, which is like a really good fun trail to do, and sort of interconnects with a couple of the other trails sort of within the Mt Wellington network as well. Can actually take you out as far as the Glenorchy mountain bike trail as well. So yeah, if that's what you're into, a couple of local Hobart businesses, and we'll link some in the video as well, that you can actually hire some bikes from or get lifts up if you brought your own bike too. But yeah, well worth doing, and a great way to sort of spend a day or an afternoon on the trails.
So we have just looked at mountain biking, which was on the other side of the springs. We walked down from the car park, stopped at Lost Freight, grabbed a coffee. You could go out and do your mountain biking, or one of the other things is you could do one of the trails. Now, one of the trails I'd recommend from here is Wellington Falls. Absolutely love this one. You can also access from the pipeline track that we were at earlier, which is near Fern. So you could actually compile a few of those together. But if you do it this way, you actually get to go to a place called the Disappearing Tarn, which is on the way. Really cool track. It kind of changes from what you can see back here, just to kind of gravel, but then goes to like almost, not quite boulders, but it's like rock hopping in some elements, in some areas. And then, yeah, you finally get to the falls. So yeah, 2 times a year to do it. You could do it for the Disappearing Tarn, middle of winter, and that isn't always around. So you kind of got to check in advance. I generally just search for the Disappearing Tarn on Instagram, look for the location, and check for recent stories. If there's a recent story and someone has found it, well, perfect, go now. If not, don't bother, because it might not be there. And yeah, in summer, you can go to Wellington Falls and get in the water, have some fun, bring a picnic or whatever. So that's here. We're here. There are a few other walks that you can do, but Wellington Falls, yeah, takes you all the way through. And after this, we're going to head up to the summit, but we'll stop by the chalet on the way to show you the organ pipes track, which is the next thing that I'd recommend doing. Absolutely brilliant. And that is also paired with another track called Zigzag. So there's a few kind of around this way that I'd recommend, and we're going to speak to that in just a sec. But yeah, Wellington Falls, can't go past it. It says 7 hours return. Probably won't quite take you that long, maybe 5 or 6, but give yourself plenty of time, make it a full day thing. Okay, so we've pulled up at the chalet, which is the top of the organ pipes track. Now, I wouldn't recommend driving to this point. I'd go from the springs, walk up and do the full circuit, which I'll show you the other entry point of where you come out and where you go. But first, halfway through, you've got this little like waterfall here, and it says untreated water, do not drink. Do it at your own risk. I've been drinking it for my whole life when I'm down here. The freshest water you'll have, and I know someone that actually only drinks this water as well. They come in, they fill up like a few tanks full of water, take it home, and do that every single week. So if you want to come in, just get some fresh water. Now I should probably pull up my sleeve, but You know how it is. Just yeah, enjoying life. Like, yeah, Tasmanian fresh water. It's pretty good to drink. Now, they have been doing roadworks a few weeks ago, maybe even a few months ago now, at this spot. So that's why I wouldn't drink it when there's roadworks and things happening. So maybe go to the top, check, then come back down. But that is a cool little spot to grab some water. Now I'll walk up and show where you come out from the organ pipes track, and then where you can continue to do a full circuit. Otherwise, you could actually get someone to come up and meet you at this point here at the car park at the chalet. Right. So we're here. Springs is down there. So walking all the way up, you split off rather than doing zigzag, come around organ pipes. And yeah, your track is pretty much looking like that the whole way up. So would I do this thing in sneakers? Probably not. I'd probably get some decent walking boots of some sort. You can do it in sneakers though. Yeah, if you're traveling and don't have something like that, then possibly just get away with what you've got and what you're bringing on the trip. But if you're local, get those walking boots. And then when you come out from there, after walking down the whole trip, you come down the road a little bit. And after you've come down a little, you get here to Hunter's Track. So it says, Junction Cabin, 50 minutes one way, Lena Valley Road. Junction Cabin is where you're gonna go. Coming down here, so you got some steps, you got some boulder hopping, heaps of fun. Once you're there, you then go across kind of like a pipeline track back to the springs. The whole loop takes 3 to 4 hours, maybe a little bit longer. So that's an awesome way to do the organ pipes. And you can't quite see them behind me, but the view when you're doing the walk is incredible. And you can go right up to you can go off the track. There's a few like rock climbing things to do up there. Absolutely incredible.
Cool, so we've made it to the top of the summit. No snow, unfortunately. So anyway, you know, sort of win some and lose some, but not for us today. We are going to check out the observatory deck, which gives them a sort of the main look of Hobart as well as the tree point as well. Temperature's definitely dropped, much colder than what it was before, so come prepared.
For kids, I guess.
Let's see why they can't make that free.
So it's not every day when you come up to the summit and actually it's this still. Like there's no wind, just fresh. Now if there's wind, it'd be so much colder, but it's still, like, for me, still in a puffer. But from the observatory deck, you can still go down and kind of look at the city from some of the viewing platforms as well. Or once you've done that, because if you're on the Explorer bus, you might only have 30 minutes, head straight up to the summit, which is the trig point's just up there, and we'll head to that in just a second. And then after that, show you 2 tracks that I enjoy, South Wellington and Zigzag Track. So, summit, it's nice, it's awesome, 360 views, and now we're gonna head out to those tracks, which is just down that way. Really, yeah, recommend. We'll give you a closer look. So those two tracks, they were South Wellington, zigzag track. We are at the Springs. You got a bit of a map here. It says the Springs via Pinnacle track. That will take you back via zigzag, as it says. But then you also have Smith's Monument via South Wellington. There's the Springs via Icehouse, and then the Chalet via Organ Pipes. So you can go through to the Chalet, which is the place we showed you before, from this track as well. So this is kind of where all the walks will lead to. Let's go check out a little bit of South Wellington, because that is actually one of my personal favorites. So on the way, which is literally at the moment just like 20 meters, throughout sunset, there's a spot right over here that you can take some really nice sunset photos. It's a good location. And then if you walk a little bit further, it's almost like a second Organ Pipes, in my opinion. Like, you've got all these nice rocks. There's a photo here that shows a little bit of that. So 2 photo locations, if that's something you're into. That's where sometimes I'll go on the mountain. This is it. This is our trailhead. This is where the path splits. South Wellington is down this way. Heaps of fun, and it gets you all the way out. If you can see those rocks over that way, really fun. I find that sometimes when it's dark, like for the aurora, actually, if you want to come to Mt Wellington, this is just a tip if you're down this time of year, you don't want to just stay at the car park. You actually want to go way over, and this is the track that you take to do that. And then the other track that you can do is zigzag, which is just down here. And it's a lot nicer than the South Wellington. It's more maintained because more people use it. But it's really cool. You go down some steep sections. There's some chains to hold on to. Pretty steep. So maybe you want to catch the Explorer bus up and then walk down the zigzag and then hop back on down at the Springs. And then, yeah, finish up all the way at the bottom back in the CBD. So the last thing to talk about for Mt Wellington is the snow. Now, we came up today and found none of it, and that's sometimes the case throughout winter. Sometimes it's just the case of waking up and there's snow on the mountain, and it's a decision of we go to see the snow now because the forecast isn't always 100% accurate, as we all know with Tasmanian weather. The weather changes quite rapidly. So
one thing to be mindful of when it does snow is that often the gates will actually be closed at the Springs as well. So there's not necessarily always the capacity to get up via car. If it's a really sort of low snow day, you might get a bit of luck and actually have snow at the Springs. But the only way to actually get up to the top of the mountain when those gates are actually closed is via the Mt Wellington bus.
yeah, so the Explorer will come up in some snow conditions. I think there will be a few cases where it just wouldn't come up at all. I'm not sure what case that is. But the way to check if you can get up via car yourself is by going to, we'll link the website in the description. It's just the Mt Wellington gate. So it'll show you all the gates that are open, all the gates that are closed.
And on the Hobart City Council website.
That's the one. So if you want to get to the top and experience the snow, the only way to really do it is drive up as far as you can and walk the rest of the way. Now, that isn't for everyone. Some people are just going to, nah, that's a no from me. But if you're into that, then you definitely have the capacity to come up. Just come prepared, because it can get super windy at the top, and you don't want to come without the resources, without food, without a windproof and waterproof jacket as well. So
yeah, very fresh otherwise.
Yeah, but when the snow's here, it's gorgeous. Like, here's a few photos, one from the summit when you could drive up. This was a few years ago now. There's another few I'll show now from Icehouse Track. This was pretty crazy. Yeah, just water running through the track as well. But a lot of fun if you can make it up for the snow. But that's it. Yeah.
Thanks for joining us. Like and subscribe, and
always
continue posting more videos in the future.
Hope you found this helpful, and look forward to seeing you in the next one. Awesome. We're done.
Lovely.